Great good morning, everyone. It is 9:07:54 on my Cordaro Jewelers watch as we begin this program on a beautiful Thursday, September 4, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, broadcasting today from the United States of America, the place where the brave, like the veterans we salute today, having lost them, brought to you by our man John Basiliga and his great family of companies, including Basiliga Hospitality, because they made us and kept us free. People like Frederick Malmstone, Dallas, Joseph Koch, Hanover Township, James Serino, Anthony Serino, Fred Serino, Frankie Serino, brothers who served this country with distinction. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible founding fathers, that the government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation. Not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted each individual by God. Freedom couldn't be parceled out to groups, nor could it be controlled by government or government officials, because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press. It doesn't matter if the establishment and the Democrat Party says freedom's too messy. It made us great. Because armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so, we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that because of our commitment to common sense, we will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you. Well, we're a little double booked today because I'm not going to be on tomorrow, so the Weekend Warrior's got to come on, and we're going to talk to him. I think probably at 11:05. I've probably got to adjust him, and we'll see, though. But anyway, we've got the Weekend Warrior talking about the NFL season starting tonight. We've got the Pie Man Cometh talking about this Eagles game this evening. And we've got Andy Mihalchik, WBRE, WYOU. I sat down with Andy and my old friend Dave Yonkai to do a podcast that WBRE YOU is launching. And we're going to talk about that. And if we have time, I'd love to get into Andy's career. He told me he's 65. He looks like a kid. Amazing. Just a great guy. Great guy. And I told him, and this should be a lesson to so many others, nobody knows his politics. Just like our guy, David DeCosmo. Nobody knows their politics. And that's why they had such longevity. That's why we trust them. That's why they've been around. And so anyway, we'll talk to Andy Mihalchik in the 10 o'clock hour. And all of that happening today. Now, Ginny C asking how Chauncey's doing. Chauncey's in the studio with me today. We've got to take him to see a neurologist tomorrow. You hope and pray it's good news and all that. I'm not going to elevate it, to what it is or isn't. But we love the guy, and he's a great little guy. He's for a dog, he's big. He's over 100 pounds already at approaching 8 months. But Chauncey's in studio with me today. And then in another great thing, I was telling you I was golfing down at one day down at Fox Hill. And so run into these very nice people. One of them turns out to be Jim Perino. He's telling me about his family. And they had served, 4 of them, including his father. So I said, we got to give them a tribute. So we're going to do that today at 10:30 and 11:30. For Dad at 10:30, and for the brothers at 11:30, with Jim calling in. And he was nervous about getting in the air. No. You look at, number one, he's a natural. But the second part of it is that you just speak from the heart, it'll work. Believe me. So I'm looking forward to those call-ins today. So a busy, busy day. Yesterday, Jerry Mullaney. He was killed during right at the D-Day, following the D-Day invasion, in 1944. He was killed on his ship, June 8th, 1944. The USS Glennon. So they found remains. I think you remember one of our great listeners had called in about this or texted in about this. And they've identified the remains. And they had a full military burial yesterday at St. Mary's Cemetery in Scranton. Just fabulous. And still family members, some that even knew him, remembered him, they were there. So a big deal. Jerry Mullaney. And then yesterday, I'm leaving to go down to WBRE-YOU and to see Andy Mihalchik and all of that. And there's this massive car fire. I'm going to the left on 315. To the right, some car hit a pole or something. I think it hit a pole. I don't know what made it explode, though. That was a raging fire. And I don't know. They're fixing it now at the Knights Inn. So that was just a moment. By the way, there's a lot of things going on in the country, and I don't have my monitor working for some reason in the studio, which I like. It helps me. So now this app, which we'll talk about next hour, it's WBREWYOU 2822 now. He'll tell us how to find it and all that. Andy knows the stuff. But we had a great pleasure. And then somebody says Dave Young's a left winger. Yes, he is. I like him. I just like him. I always did. And we had a good discussion, robust, as they say. The point was to have both sides on the podcast. Called them, what does he call them? Mihalchik Files, I believe. We're going to find all that out when talking to Andy. But very enjoyable. I got to see a lot of people. Paul John Giacomo was down there, you know. My buddy Ingy, he is the quintessential, really film historian, news film historian in Northeast Pennsylvania. He'll have these posts on news and sports that he'll put up on Facebook and so forth, and it's just a treasure trove. So he was there yesterday. It was great. It was really nice. Anyway, and then we're talking about doing it more often. But we'll get into that more deeply next hour. For now, we got to take a break. Thanks, Fred Duckman. Wishing Chauncey good luck tomorrow. But we'll do all that. We'll come back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. The Marvelettes. Murph tells us they debuted with their first single, Please Mr. Postman, this date 1961. And before that, and I was a Rochester guy. I went to the University of Rochester, and Eastman Kodak. Kodak loomed large over that city back then. 66,000, I said this to you before, 66,000 employees. Now, this is 1979. Now, one of them was making less than 20 grand, and they had something called the Kodak bonus. You'd get 10% of your salary. I think it was sometime like in March. I mean, it was like Christmas in July. But proof, they invented digital photography and got blown out. And then they were nothing but a pile of patents, valuable patents, but a pile of patents by the end. I think the Kodak Tower still stands. It's such a historic building. It's only 15 stories, but it's really just classy. French chateau. Used to drive by it every day when I was teaching at a local high school. Anyway, yeah, Kodak. So, Mother Teresa, I missed yesterday. So, Mary Regina, she's ever patient. September 3rd. She said, when we speak of the poorest of the poor, who comes to mind? Who are the poorest of the poor? Nobody but you and me. We are the poorest of the poor. Now, I guess sometimes I don't. Sometimes she's over my head. Maybe for September 3rd she was. For September 4th, now today, she says, that terrible longing keeps growing, and I feel as if something will break in me one day. And then that darkness comes, that loneliness, that feeling of terrible aloneness. Heaven seems closed from every side, and yet I long for God. I long to love him with every drop of life in me, and I want to love him with a deep personal love. Mother Teresa for September 3rd and September 4th, St. Teresa. One of the amazing people of all time, without any doubts. Cinderblock checking in. He says, hey, Bob, maybe I'm really missing something, but were there a lot of people clamoring in Florida for an end to vaccine mandates? I could understand not mandating COVID shots, as they should be optional like cold or flu vaccines, but measles or mumps or chickenpox, didn't we just have a bunch of illegal immigrants come over here with all those third world sicknesses about a year ago? Easily preventable diseases that we all but eradicated in the U.S. decades ago. Well, I mean, it's a choice that the Floridians are making, and it is controversial. Now, by the way, they don't foreclose you getting these vaccines for your children. But what had happened, Cinderblock, is that the CDC, the old crappy CDC, the one that failed us beyond miserably during COVID, that gang had 16 to 20 mandatory shots for kids. And I don't care what it is. I don't care how good it is. There will be adverse consequences to a percentage of those receiving any mass vaccinations. So Florida has said, I'm not defending it or advocating it, but Florida said, hey, parents get to choose the vaccines that their children receive. Now, as far as people coming over from the illegals in particular, they're not really spreading disease. They're vulnerable to disease. I remember in prison, the Puerto Ricans in particular, if something like the what's the one? I think it's the measles. Chickenpox. No, chickenpox. If chickenpox came in, there was no chickenpox in Puerto Rico. And so then they'd get it and they'd spread it. So it's almost more that they're additionally vulnerable than that they're bringing diseases into the country. So I'll stand corrected on that, but that was part of my understanding. Somebody says Florida will become the proving ground as to whether vaccines cause autism. RFK made that statement, and I didn't like him making it because I really, really like him. He made that statement, if you recall. I think it was September. We will know what causes autism. Well, I am certain, like any sophisticated issue, there are multiple causes. So, look, he's a true believer. I don't categorize him as an anti-vaxxer. I categorize him as a vaccine skeptic. I mean, you know what George Carlin said? He says, we didn't get sick. We swam in sewage in the East River. So but you're right. Ingredients within these vaccinations has been linked to issues, tin in particular. I will say this. I trust that RFK and his team, and they are great, Marty McCary, Dr. Oz, Bhattacharya, they care about health. And when people are carrying on about bureaucrats getting fired from the CDC or HHS, Health and Human Services, they're the ones who screwed everything up in the first place. You're damn right they should be fired. Well, you might fire some people that were good or weren't part of it, whatever. You've got to clean this up. You've got to attack it. Somebody texts in agreeing with what I'm saying or actually amplifying it. When you have a vaccine schedule of over 60 shots before the age of 6, I think there's a problem. Can't disagree with that. Cannot disagree. Again, that's what Florida's saying. Hey, parents have the right to make these decisions. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. Coming towards the bottom of the hour, you can reach us at 570-883-0098. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about, and otherwise I will just plunge on. But Veterans Tribute to our first two veterans coming on the other side of these great messages. Our veterans this hour, brought to you by our man John Basiliga, friend of the veterans and a great patriot. One of his great companies is Basiliga Hospitality. Frederick Malmstone. He died August 28th. He was from Dallas. He was 88 years old. Born in Dover, New Jersey, graduated from Dover High School, and then entered the United States Air Force, where he proudly served as a training instructor. Avid golfer, loved bowling, loved gardening. Tragically, he was preceded in death by his daughter Barbara and his grandson Joey. Surviving are his wife of 49 years, the former Joan Hartice, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. Frederick Malmstone. Joseph Koch. He was known as Joe. He was known as Sonny. He passed away August 29th. His family says he was a hardworking, generous, creative, and responsible man who would help anyone build or fix anything. He was a graduate of Hanover Area High School, and then he joined the Air Force. After his service, he worked at Barry Optical, Mary McIntosh, and then became a partner at Wyoming Valley Fasteners and Tools. He retired after owning and operating Diversified Products. Member of Exaltation of the Holy Cross Church, he too was an accomplished golfer. He would create things, he would build things, and he'd give them to friends, and they are all over his neighborhood. He and his wife, Ann, along with family and friends, they love to travel. He'll be terribly missed by his daughters and many, many other family members. Joseph Koch. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by our man John Basiliga. Basiliga Hospitality, that includes the Old Brook Inn, 307 Springbrook Township. Great Far Street Tavern in the amazing Trip Park section of West Scranton. The Scranton Art House, first-run movie theater where you can have your favorite adult beverage and great food while you watch a movie. Queen City Tavern, Main Drag, Oliphant, Top Shelf. Then there's a class of restaurants in Northeast Pennsylvania and beyond. The Stegmeyer Mansion, South Franklin Street, Wilkes-Barre. Go back to another era and enjoy an incredible experience. And then at Terra 519. Low-key Manhattan here in Scranton. And guess what? Sergei's, the nightclub, will be open tonight, too. Our veterans, brought to you by John and Basiliga Hospitality. Storm Tracker 16 forecast meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, partly sunny, then increasing clouds in the afternoon. Showers and thunderstorms coming. It'll be 78 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 58. Friday, morning clouds, then sunny, high near 80. Saturday, cloudy and cooler. Showers and thunderstorms, 72. Sunday, partly sunny, 70 degrees. I guess swimming weather is sort of ending, huh? Rodney, Texas, morning, Bob, LTS. Joy Reid was casting down on Trump being shot in Butler. I mean, she's an insane person. And just like Rodney says, I dare her to say that in front of the Comparator family or the other two persons hit that day. Amen, Rodney. Wes Austin, we love him. He puts together great pieces. And that song, Bobby V. I actually had to ask the Bulldog, is it Bobby Vinton or Bobby V? No, it's Bobby V. This date, 1961, he moved from number 23 to number 6 with his hit, Take Good Care of My Baby. Nice. So Chauncey's in the house. The Bull Mastiff. He's they've been taking good care of him. With these medicines, he bounces back, but we just don't know what the problem is. Hopefully, we're gonna find out tomorrow. But he's a good boy. He's a good he's a good character. Anyway, somebody's you were exactly right. Joe from Westside said, Bob, LTS every day. You said swimming season was coming to an end. How about all the kids in Scranton who never had a swimming season? Thanks to Pothole Page. Well, I guess some of the potholes were deep enough to swim in. Joe, you're right. Joe, I've got a pothole in front of my house. And I have to not only avoid it with the vehicle, but I'm telling you, I'd break my ankle if I ever step in it. Now, something I was complaining about quite a bit was there's two. They were probably even originally apartment buildings on Clay Avenue in Scranton. And I mean, it's an absolute disgrace. They've been standing there for 5 years. One of them got knocked down. I'm not taking credit for it, but probably just to shut me up. Because remember what they do. Remember what the left does. And that we talked about this on the, you never have enough time. All that Mayor Cognetti does, it's about messaging and image because everything's about the agenda. Well, the agenda, the left-wing agenda, has nothing to do with knocking eyesores and potential crack houses down. It has nothing to do with it. So here we are. But I've got to say that the one building was knocked down. The other, I don't know why that wasn't. Hey, something that came across this Epstein thing that's continuing. And I'm starting to get to the point where Trump is. Like, all right, it had nothing to do with me, which, by the way, is proven. I don't care how much you hate Trump. Stop. And I don't want it taking attention from what we're doing. Now, I will tell President Trump that would be a more effective argument if you weren't always stepping on your successes. You are. One of the things I talked about yesterday with Andy Mahalchik is he'll have this great success, and then he'll step on it. And now, by the way, not like the first term. I was talking about it during the first term. I said, we'll have incredible employment numbers, and then Trump will be fighting with Rosie O'Donnell. He's doing better on that part, by the way. But I said it's a good thing. He's on to the next thing before he can reap the rewards of the last thing. He's about action. This administration is about doing things, not saying things, not posing. And that's to their great credit, but with an unhelpful, actually incredibly biased media. He's saying, look, this Epstein thing, it's a Democrat Party hoax, which, by the way, they're going to move on because there's nothing about Trump. They can't get Trump. Once they can't get Trump, watch this. It will go away. You'll never hear from it again. Never hear about it. That's as soon as they can't hurt him. And by the way, it's quite obvious they can't because the Biden administration would have. They would have crushed him. And by the way, if there was credible evidence, they could have crushed him justifiably. But there ain't any. So Trump's saying, let's talk about the great things we're doing. He's got the high-tech people in the Rose Garden today. I mean, peripatetic. He's just doing something constantly. And it's all for the good of the country, whether you like him, whether you like what he says. And it's beyond transparent. I said this. I said, I hate the stand. It's not painful, but it's uncomfortable. And I said, if I ever had to stand behind Trump when he was doing an event, I just wouldn't go. I'd say, no, sorry, can't do it. Because he'll go on and on. Somebody says, where was the left on the Epstein case the last 4 years? I know. They went from calling us conspiracy theorists to fanning the conspiracy flames faster than Cognetti changed jobs. 100% right. It's crazy when they think they got an issue. Because what are they going to talk about? Seriously, what would the Democrats talk about? We want illegal alien criminals on the streets. We're for that. What would they talk? Seriously, they're wrong on every single issue. Unbelievable. Somebody thinks that Bob totally agree on the Epstein thing. Still have my Epstein air freshener. But with 150 women coming out in that lawsuit a few years ago, awarded over $500 million, they never said anything about Trump. The lawyer of Epstein, well, actually, it was the lawyer of the women, said there's nothing on Trump. Oh, so maybe the lawyer of Epstein also said that. Yeah, I mean, come on. And they're going to move on. Believe me, they're going to ignore it. And somebody pointing out this. Even if they release every page, every word, everything, they're still not going to believe that he's not in there. ALTS. Yep. So that's why he's done with it. Move on. And by the way, move forward with your lawsuit. Compensate the people who need to be compensated. There is money there. I was saying this on, I think, with Andy yesterday, Andy Malchik. I said, I want to know how he got his money. Who gave it to him? He clearly didn't earn it honestly. And some people say, well, it was Mossad. It was the Mossad. I don't know they'd be throwing around that kind of money to one operative, $500 million. I want to know where his money came from. I think that will answer all of the questions. That's where we should be focused, period. Bob Cordaro, the eponymous show. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Bloomberg Money Minute in the middle here. Find out what's going on in the markets, which have just opened. But we'll be back. The Beatles. Murph says they had their 36th hit and 9th number one song with Help. This date, 1965. And then President Harry S. Truman. That was 1951 this date. He addressed the nation from the Japanese Peace Treaty Conference in San Francisco in the first live coast-to-coast television broadcast. Wow. People must have been in awe of that. I mean, not a lot of people had televisions. But, I mean, you'd go to places where you'd gather together and watch. Fascinating stuff. Somebody texts in, the guy that owns Victoria's Secrets and was worth a fortune put his whole entire estate in Epstein's name for a while. And Tucker has great episodes on his podcast about it. It's worth a listen. Oh, no, I'm familiar with the Les Wexner stuff. Again, that's what I want to know. Where did he get his money? Now, Wexner, worth billions. But again, once we know where the money came from, he lived on Wexner's property for a while. He managed at least a part of his money. Because remember, Wexner's money was primarily tied up in his own company's stock. So, I mean, he didn't have hundreds of millions of dollars of cash lying around. That's why it's a continuing mystery. Wexner had a complicated and fairly long relationship with Epstein. And I don't know. Show me how he accumulated $550 million. That's what I want to know. And then we will be able to pursue the rest of it. The girls who got assaulted and so forth, they've got their own lawsuit. They've got a pool of money to grab. We can't unring that bell that this sicko was out amongst us using his wealth and friendships as cover. Maybe blackmail as cover. We don't know. But I believe the most fruitful place to explore is where Epstein got his money. Could be Les Wexner. It's probably many people. Where? Then we'll know. Somebody says, I can't believe you're not standing up for children who are molested by important people. What the hell are you talking about? What are you talking about? Dear God. How did you take that? This is one of our listeners. Being an idiot. Shame on you for being stupid. Who's not standing up for the children? You don't even listen. Or I don't know if you're a troll because I don't recognize the number. Who's not standing up for the children? Dear God. This is what you get. It's called broadcasting. Wow. This is what now, generally I leave it to left-wingers. They hear a word or a sentence or something, and then they just go off and running. I'm not standing up for the children. Dear Jesus. I almost cussed. You sound so damn stupid, I don't even know what to say to you. Can you just simply listen to something and actually listen? Wake up. All right, my Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me it's 10 o'clock, almost 10:01. So it is time for the news with Brian Hughes. Let's do that, and then we'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. My Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me it's 10:08:50 in the great Northeast. This beautiful Thursday, September 4th, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. It's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Basiliga Hospitality Group, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost, but celebrate today, including Joseph Koch. He was from Hanover. Frederick Malmstone, Dallas. And then the brothers from West Pittston. James Serino, brother Anthony, brother Fred, and brother Frankie Serino. We'll celebrate them both hours coming this show. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you when the left, the establishment, and Democrat leaders are just lying to you. And you're saying, what? Well, I told you that yesterday. I went down to BREYOU. Great, just a great group of people. They truly are. And my old friend Andy Mihalchik is doing a podcast. And it's going to start streaming tonight at 9 o'clock. So myself and Dave Yonkai were the interviewers, and we just, really, the three of us had a conversation. It was neat stuff. But really, our premier investigative journalist for decades now is Andy Mihalchik, and he is with us now. Andy, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Bob. How are you doing? Yeah, yesterday was a tremendous day. We reconnected after many years because you and I have been in this market. We were born and raised here, and so it was really great. But, yeah, the podcast, we'll talk about that. But it was a great discussion. It was a great time.
Hey, Andy, let's talk a little bit about your career. You've been with WBRE and now WBRE-YOU for how many years?
Since 1985. Yes, Back to the Future came out. The original Wolf of Wall Street movie came out. And, to put it in perspective, a lot of our newsroom really has a good mix of young and old up-and-comers and, senior people like me. And they say, so when did you start? I said, well, let me put in perspective. I'll talk about that kind of stuff. Ronald Reagan was president of the United States. So it's been a good run, Bob. Honestly, I'm from Hazleton, as most people know, and I worked in radio. Most of us then, as we talked about yesterday, we started in radio and or TV, and the progression was radio and newspaper, and progression was to get into television, and that's what I did. And I've been here since 1985. I've done everything in the market, anchor the news, investigative reporting, just telling the stories of our great people in northeastern and central Pennsylvania. And, people throw the word around blessed like it's, going out of style. But I feel truly blessed to be able to report on my neighbors and friends in northeastern Pennsylvania. I'm still doing it now, and it's been a very good thing.
Well, Andy Mihalchik, I felt blessed yesterday. I might have said it during the podcast or during one of the breaks. I felt blessed that you weren't investigating me.
It's interesting. You have to check hey, folks, you have to check the podcast out tonight. We'll tell you where it is. It's a 2822 Now app on Apple TV, Roku, and Fire TV. But, we talked about that. And honestly, true investigative pieces take time. But, I'm proud to say over the years you've done a lot of good work for the people of NEPA. Not for me, not for you, not for awards, that kind of stuff. They're nice. But to really, hold the powerful accountable. And it takes time to do those kind of things, and we still do it as much as we can. But it's, someone has to do it, and I think the media, an informed, investigative media, has to do that kind of thing. There's a big place for it now, especially today.
Andy Mihalchik is our guest. He is with WBRE-WYOU. He's been an investigative journalist and reporter for those stations since 1985, 40 years. It's unbelievable.
Hard to believe, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. 1985 seems like yesterday to me when I say it.
It does.
But then I think back, oh my God, it's 40 years.
Right. Well, it's interesting because, and again, when you think about all that time, sometimes I look in the mirror and say, "Who let my dad in the house?" I mean, what happened? In a good way. Like, God rest his soul, he was just a great mentor for me. But like I say, you and I, Bob, go back way back to thick and thin. And but I have a commitment, as most people in this business, to just gain the truth out there. And sometimes you have to do a lot of digging, because the powers that be many times circle the wagons. And that's why I think talk radio is crucial. You may not have all the facts, but bring a spotlight to an issue or a debate or whatever. That's what I've tried to do and still try to do.
Amen. Andy, another thing, and I've said this in the first hour introducing this, I said, guys like you and David DeCosmo, who've had such incredible staying power and have such deep trust from the people of northeastern Pennsylvania, you're in that position because number one, you've done hard work. Number two, you've been honest. And number three, nobody knows your politics. You're just doing your job. And that has contributed so much to your longevity and the fact that when you say something, they're listening because you don't have a separate agenda.
No, and we're very careful with the podcast because you're talking as a general conversation. But you're right. My politics, I don't tell anyone my thoughts, that kind of thing, because it has no place in journalism. I'm there to report the facts: what, when, why, how, why did it happen, what we do to make sure it doesn't happen again, or make something happen. But I've never gotten into politics talking about it. And even when I do, like we did a political show yesterday, and I wanted to title it "Politics and NEPA: A Blood Sport?" ? We know the answer to that, right? So,
yes.
But
my blood is in a lot of places.
Yeah, you said that, Robert, not me.
Yeah.
But I said. When you watch my news reporting over the years, there's been a lot there, of course. My political persuasion is never known. It should not be known. That's not what we do. And, and I try and mentor our young reporters, and they get it. And I said this in our podcast. You can see it tonight. When we sit at a news meeting in the morning, for now, this is my 5th decade doing it, honestly, and I just tell people, I have never sat in a news meeting at WBRE or WILK over the years, and we sat there and someone say, we're not doing that story because he's a R or D or independent, whatever, or we are doing it because he's a supporter of so-and-so. That doesn't happen. We have discussion about what stories impact our community. What are people talking about? Can we advocate on behalf of some organization for a good thing to raise money for nonprofits? That's our discussion. It's never politically based, ever.
Oh, I believe I know from the product. Hey, so Andy Michalczyk, tell us, you guys are launching a new app now.
Right.
Is that an app on a phone also, or no?
Okay, good. Short answer, no, not at this point.
So,
people
it's
can see it. Yeah,
Roku, Apple TV, and Fire TV. I've got those.
Yes, sir.
And you go literally the numbers 2822.
Now app, 2822 Now app. Search that. And we have, by the way, a tutorial on our website, 2822news.com. That's our website, 2822news.com. And we have a whole system how you can do it. Because, a lot of people know how to download on their mobile devices, but they're not, they have smart TVs, but do they really use their smart TVs much? Some do, I'm sure, some don't. But we have a tutorial on our website. So right now, Bob, the short answer is, and I've done like 12 podcasts in the last couple of months. We're going to have them all running. We're basically programming a TV station on an app.
Yeah.
So we have sports, our newscast stream live every day. So that's running right now. And then my so-called the Michalczyk Files, which is pretty cool, that runs at 9 o'clock every night in prime time. So, and I have a whole wide variety. But you're right. It's not mobile now, but it will be eventually.
It's an interesting launch. I like this. 2822 Now. And
app, yes.
it gives people who love the news and love certain stories the opportunity to watch in a longer form and more in depth what you guys are covering, and particularly what Andy Michalczyk is covering.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, Bob, honestly, and I have, again, because I'm the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the market, I've done so many stories on all kind of issues, right? And stories that people talk about. For example, some of my podcasts, the topics include the Hugo Solinsky case. The guy whose backyard was a graveyard.
Yeah.
We have exclusive, never before seen video of his backyard where they found these bones and bodies. Right. The Kids for Cash. We talked to victims who are still being devastated after all these years. In Luzerne County, Kids for Cash that really changed the face of juvenile justice. And then so we have UFO stories in Northeast PA, paranormal hauntings. All kind of stuff. I mean, it sounds like a commercial, but it's things that, in a newscast, we have a minute and a half to talk about. But here we have, as you know, it's almost like talk radio on an app,
Yeah. I think it's going to be fabulous. It starts tonight, 9 o'clock, at least
Right.
our episode. And it's on Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV,
Yep.
and it's 2822 now.
Now, real
right.
quick, and folks, you have to see the podcast tonight because, and full disclosure, I invited Bob Cordaro on and David Yonkai, who's the publisher, administrator for the LULAC political letter, which is one of the few political letters out there that you can Google it, you'll find it. But Dave Yonkai is obviously more to the left. Bob is more to the right.
To the
and
left.
They have a really,
More to the left.
Yeah,
He's gone.
Well, you guys had some great interaction. We've been running some clips on the air this morning. I'll be doing more tonight on our newscast 4, 5, 6, and 7, promoting it because it's not because it's just great TV. Yeah, it is, but it's also and Bob, it's where is our nation politically right now? Can it come together? Has it ever been so divided? That's what you guys talk about. And honestly, folks, you hear the line, agree to disagree. And Bob Cordell had a great line yesterday. Well, I don't have to agree to disagree with you, but it was really a good conversation and something I think we have to do more of as far as a country, in my opinion. And you guys really nailed it as far as getting to the point of, we talked about congressional races, the national stuff, and, where we're going as a nation politically. And it really worked out well. And I want to thank you, Bob and Dave Yonkai, for being my guest yesterday. Recorded it.
Well, it was a pleasure being with Dave. As much as I disagree with him, I think we could disagree on the time of a sunset. But 2822 now, 2822 now app, Roku, Apple TV, Fire TV. The latest episode that I was on will be 9 o'clock tonight. It'll be dropped.
Yes.
Best wishes with it, and I hope you'll come on regularly to talk about what your episodes are all about.
Yeah, and I said, and we talked about yesterday, as you know, that we would like to make this political program maybe a regular deal and maybe even sometimes live during the day, whatever. We'll see how it plays out because, as you know, with politics in Northeastern PA and nationwide, it's something new every minute of every day. So, but again,
And when Andy said we'll make this regular, I said, well, I'm a capitalist. If you pay me, I'll be somewhere.
that was a classic line. But you know what, Bob? When you open your shirt like Superman and said, "I'm a capitalist" first, I thought, we're in trouble here. No, I'm only kidding. It was really good stuff. And again, thanks. And I got to tell you, Bob, real quick, while I have a chance. I'm a big ILK listener in the morning show, and you guys and Sue and everybody. I really think, to honor the veterans the way you do, forget politics, but to honor our veterans is just tremendous. And I really want to give you a kudos for that because I think this thing is so important and, it's just so important. So thank you for doing it.
And I started it and John Basiligas helped us continue it. So it's great. You're right. It makes me come for the show. I could talk politics or not talk politics. Sure. That's what makes it worth it. Andy, appreciate it so much, and look forward to 2822 now dropping another episode this evening, and we'll be talking to you again.
You got it, and watch on air. We'll be running promotions today at midday and stuff. Your interaction with Dave, but thank you, Bob. Again, thanks for being our guest, and we'll move forward, and we'll do more down the road. Okay.
See you soon, Andy Mahalchik, 2822. One of your great reporters, just one of your great reporters. And that's why he's been around so long. That's why we love him so much. We'll take a break. It's Bob Cordaro on the eponymous program. A little bit from our sponsors who we also love. A little history, a little music, and then we've got some phone calls. We'll be back. Bob Dylan. Murph tells us this date, 1965. He moved from number 6 to number 2 with his hit Like a Rolling Stone. And then Democrat Governor Orville Faubus, this date, 1957, prevents the black children from entering the Central High School in Little Rock. And Dwight D. Eisenhower, he nationalized the National Guard, and then they let him in. Good for Dwight D. Big stuff, important stuff. Hey, somebody asked, just on this Epstein issue, the listener says, forgive me, but all I hear is you defending Trump while hundreds of children were molested. You can't hear. You obviously can't hear. You got to be a left-wing lunatic responding like this. Of course it's a tragedy. And they deserve all the money that this scumbag had. When Trump is saying move on, let's move on from his attention and the national attention. That doesn't mean anything about ignoring the now women who were victimized. It doesn't mean anything about that. And Butch from Mountaintop says it probably where you're coming from. And if I'm not, you text me again. Butch from Mountaintop says liberals only care about the victims if they have incriminating info on President Trump. A victim made a statement about being flown on a plane to Africa with Bill Clinton. Where's the outrage for that victim? How come nobody's asking questions about the disgusting things I'm sure happened on that voyage? ALTS back at you, Bush. They don't even get it. You don't even want to hear. Should the Epstein issue, let me make it clear, like Garrett Morris used to do for the hard of hearing on Saturday Night Live. I'm defending Trump because I understand why he wants the national dialogue in the Oval Office, by the way, with the president of Poland there. He wants the national dialogue to move on. If there's more information, so be it. Don't occupy the president's time or the attention, take attention away from the president's accomplishments intentionally on an issue that does not merit that level and that constancy. You're not going to catch him in anything with Epstein, period. So move on when it comes to Donald Trump. Period. The hell's the matter with you? Jesus Christ. I got to tell you. Anyway, back to good information. Cabinet guy says Andy's a true reporter. Far and few. Yep, love watching him. Somebody asking about Nexstar buying on WNEP. That's above Andy's pay grade. Why would I ask him about that? First of all, he doesn't work for WNEP. So I didn't ask him about it. All right. My Epstein rant with this recalcitrant listener took more time than I want. We got to go to the phones when I come back. But we do need to hear from our sponsors. We do need to do our Veterans Tribute and the weather. And then get back to you at 570-883-0098. We'll return. If you go outside the Bloomsburg Legion, you'll see a stone that says, "What is a veteran?" And it answers that question. A veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America and its people for an amount up to and including his or her life. That is honor. We start off by honoring James Serino. When he first entered the service, he was put in the Army Air Force, assigned a tail gunner's position on a B-17. He was from West Pittston. When he found out that you were in the tail and hit by enemy fire, the only way they could get your body out was to be washed out with a powerful fire hose. He quickly volunteered for a combat infantry position. After completing his basic training, he was sent to Asiatic Pacific, China, Burma, India, to fight the Japanese. He engaged in heavy fighting with Japanese troops. He was part of a group called Merrill's Marauders, named after their commanding general, Frank Merrill. He was part of that 3,000-soldier group. He didn't talk about it much, but he did relay a few stories over the year. When they were shipped out, they were not initially told where they were going. First, they were in the North Atlantic, then turned around and headed to Burma. That was mainly to stop Japanese forces from further advances in China and India. He was with General Merrill's forces, and that this general, unlike many others, pretty much fought right alongside his troops. His tour of duty, plus or minus 6 months, a very long time. They really never expected to make it home. He told his family that he had to deal with, besides the enemy, snakes, huge pythons, jungle animals, and probably worst of all, the horrific monsoon rains, just pouring for weeks on end. Their clothes were soaked always and literally rotted off them. And of course, there was intense jungle heat. One of his first involvements with the enemy was walking through the jungle and thick vegetation, seeing Japanese Zeros fly very low, right above the treetops. He could actually see the heads of the pilots looking around. The Japanese would attack wave after wave, yelling and screaming banzai right into their machine guns. Bodies would just pile up. Jim Serino said there were so many of them coming that the guns would actually get so hot they would burn up and out. Then it was hand to hand, very fierce. Nothing like depicted in the movies. Primitive fighting. Once the firefights were over, they had to call in combat engineers to bury all the bodies to prevent disease. He was seriously wounded in combat when an enemy soldier got into the foxhole and hit him in the face with the butt of his rifle and broke his nose badly. Before the Jap could finish him off, he used his bayonet on him, one of his buddies. They patched him up, sent him back. Oh, stories continue. Quite amazing. James Serino, West Pittston, World War II for us. Brought to you by our man, John Basiliga, Basiliga Hospitality. And they're great properties. From the Old Brook Inn to the Far Street Tavern, Queen City Tavern, to the Scranton Art House, to Atera 519, the Stegmeyer Mansion, and Sergei's the Nightclub. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Joe Snedeker. Today, partly sunny, then increasing clouds in the afternoon. Showers and thunderstorms this afternoon, they say. High 78. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 58. Friday, morning clouds, then sunny, high near 80. Saturday, cloudy and cooler with showers and thunderstorms, 72. Sunday, partly sunny, 70 degrees. I can't believe it's been, 8 or 9 months? 8 months. For the Pie Man goeth, but now he cometh again. The Eagles are playing tonight. The NFL has started, and the Pie Man cometh. How are you, Peter Delaporta?
Robert, good morning.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, this is the favorite part of my week. I've been waiting since February for today.
Well, tell me, we got really a marquee game tonight, kicking off the season.
Right.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, well, welcome to opening night for the NFL 25-26 season with the Super Bowl 59 champion, Philadelphia Eagles versus the Dallas Cowboys at 8:20 in Philadelphia. The Lincoln Financial Field is going to be on fire, Bob, because the pregame festivities will bear witness to the Eagles raising their Super Bowl banner at the link.
Neat. All right, well, what are you predicting? What do you see?
Well, I think, Bob, for me, my assessment, these are two teams going in opposite directions. Chris Collinsworth said yesterday on ESPN that this could be the beginning of a dynasty. This Eagles team is very young. There's only 2 players that are over 30 and is built from the inside out. But, they have a tough road ahead of them. Only 15 teams in NFL history have ever gotten back to the Super Bowl, with 9 winning back-to-back, trophies. And they do have, as we discussed, Bob, the toughest schedule in the NFL, and everybody's gunning for you. They lost a lot of players in free agency, to cash in, like Milton Williams went to the Patriots for $104 million. But, I love this team's talk about, their attitude. They've been focusing on rebuilding and getting better. In fact, Jalen Hurts, who was the Super Bowl 59 MVP, he's been talking with Michael Jordan in the offseason on how do you stay on top as a champion. And he's become best friends with Peyton Manning on how to be better with practices, preparations, etc. And Manning told him the win is not always the end-all, be-all. It's always about getting better.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right, Pie Man, let's cut to the chase. Prediction for tonight's game.
Okay, well, my prediction, Bob, as they said in Rocky III, is pain.
Obviously, for the Cowboys.
About, Bob, is rust. These guys don't play in preseason anymore. So that's the only thing really, I'm worried about. The over-under is 47.5, and I have the Eagles winning 31-24.
Okay. They're going to give up that many points. My guy Vic Fangio is going to give up that many points?
Yeah, it's going to be a war there. They got this guy, CeeDee Lamb, for Dallas, who's always had huge games, against the Eagles. But I think, Bob, it's important to note the Eagles are really looking past this game to week 2, which is, repeat of the Super Bowl, Kansas City Chiefs at 4:25 on Sunday versus the Eagles at Kansas City.
Well,
that's going to be a monster game.
Let's hope they're not looking ahead like you are. They got to win tonight.
Yeah, it's NFC East, a game, and they're always unpredictable. Dak Prescott is coming off a bad year and wants to improve himself. But Dallas is a little bit in disarray, Bob, because they lost their number 1 player, that Micah Parsons. He held out and went to for a big contract with the Packers, and I think that really shaken a lot of players. I mean, Jerry Jones isn't willing to pay market value for his players, and I think that's hurtful.
Well, market value is insane, but that's another story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Pie Man, Beautiful. I mean, 31-24. I'll be
Yeah.
watching tonight. We'll be commenting tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. And looking forward to a full season with the Pie Man.
Robert, it's always an honor being on your show.
All right. Peter Della Porta, the Pie Man cometh, but unfortunately, at some point, the Pie Man must goeth. Have a good one, my friend.
Brother.
Thank
You
you.
have a great show.
All right. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. I love that song. Lulu released her hit single To Sir With Love, which was the theme song for the Sidney Poitier movie of the same name. September 4th, 1967, Merv tells us. Bob Cordaro back with you on WILK as we head towards the top of the hour. Just quickly, our dear friend, Bob, I can't move on because Trump has the ability to release all the information about Epstein and all the rest of the people who live molested children. When you release the information, see what's there, we move on. He does not have the ability to release the information. They had to they went to court. Here's the problem. You don't recall when they went to court? The Trump administration went to court to ask the Democrat judges to release the information from the grand jury. The judge refused, which means you can't do it. The House just released 30,000 pages of Epstein information. I don't know what else you could do. Yeah, he overpromised, but without doubt, and underdelivered. He cannot release the information. He does not have the ability to release the information. So the assumption of your commentary is false. And that's the last time I'm going to visit this. Because if you don't want to listen, you don't want to pay attention to all of the news, not just the stuff you get on the left stream media. And by the way, they went a step further. When they couldn't get the information released, they went and saw Ghislaine Maxwell to get more information from her that would not be part of the transcripts, that would not be illegal to release. So I don't know what else you want. I would love every pervert that was involved in this to get their just due. But I don't want to take up the time of the President of the United States anymore, if you don't mind. I'd rather the country be run. These kids have, well, they're adults now. They have lawyers. They have the legal process. In Congress, they've got the political process, too. There. Done with the issue. I don't know what else to say. If anything comes out, or if anybody cares with what the Congress released, good if it's anything new. Quickly, let's go to Joe from Berwick. Joe, we got a minute. I apologize. I had to address that.
No, that's fine, Bob. You had Andy Mihalchik on earlier?
Yep.
Okay. Well, about 4 years ago, I was at the Bloom Fair. And I thought I had probably the TV station mixed up, but I walked up to this man who was there reporting on the fair, but he wasn't reporting at the time. They were taking a break or something like that. They were off the air. And I'm 100% certain I walked up to this man, and I said, "Hey, are you Andy Mihalchik?" And he said, "Yes." And then he said to me something real interesting. He pointed at my cross necklace, and he says, "I like that." He goes, "We need more of that in this society." And I thought, this guy's all right, for
he's a great guy.
You hear about reporters. Yeah, so I just wanted to share that because I heard you on with him earlier, and I'm about 100% certain of that memory of meeting him like that at the Bloom Fair.
Yeah, cannot be enough kudos for Andy Mihalchik. You really can't. Love it. Thank you, my man. Appreciate it, Joe.
Thank you, Bob.
By the way, Joe from Berwick is the guy who sent me the picture of the Berwick or the Bloomsburg American Legion veteran stone. So let's always remember him. Couple of quick things because it is 11 o'clock. We got to go. Bob LTS, Bob K, huge Cowboy fan, hates this part of the show, which makes me like it even more because I'm an Eagles fan, says Slick. And another, Andy from Daleville says, listening to the Pie Man speak about the Eagles makes my ears bleed. Andy's a Giant fan. And he also says, the Eagles do not have the toughest schedule. He says, far from it. And another, even if the Eagles have a bye week, the Pie Man will have them winning by 2 scores. I love last year somebody texted in. They said, I think it was Navy guy. He texted, he says, I have a prediction. The Pie Man will pick the Eagles. The funny part is last year, the only time he didn't pick the Eagles, he picked the New Orleans, I think, for some reason, and the Eagles beat them. Always amusing. Somebody's a very interesting segment with Andy Mihalchik. I would really be interested in seeing the podcast, but I have no idea how to see it. Am I the only old guy who doesn't understand all these different confusing channels and apps? If you got Roku, if you got Fire TV, and I have one TV with Roku, one TV with Fire TV. I don't have Apple TV. Any of those three, they'll guide you through the process. And he said if you go to the website for WBREWYOU, they have a tutorial on how to get it. So hopefully you can do that. All that said, it's 11:02 on my Bacardo Jewelers watch. So we've got to go for the news. We will come back. Bob Cordaro, WILK, Weekend Warrior coming up. And then Trish Bynum, Republican candidate for mayor of Scranton. We'll be back with all of that after this. Well, we can't run anything on tape. Yesterday was the fire. Car blew up and took out a transmission pole near the station, and we couldn't do anything. So we're live. We're alive. And I say to you, great good morning, everyone. It is 11:05 a.m. here in the great Northeast. That's what my Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me on this beautiful Thursday, September 4th, 2025. Chauncey is in the studio, and this is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. It's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man John Basiliga, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like Joseph Koch. He was from Hanover Township. Frederick Malmstone, Dallas. And then the brothers four. James Serino, who we feted last hour, and his three brothers, Anthony Serino, Fred Serino, Frankie Serino, all of whom served this great country in World War II and Korea. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. A reminder, the Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so, we gavel order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, and he's going to have to deal without his, actually, the phone seems to have cut out too. We were supposed to have the Weekend Warrior and Trish Bynum on, but we can't do phone. Is that too, Bulldog? Or we can do the phones? We can't do the phones. All right. Well, we can't give you the Weekend Warrior, so it's up to us. All the neat stuff I had planned for. I had a great comedy routine, a lot of other things. Anyway, going back to the, we'll continue on the Epstein stuff. Why didn't Biden or Obama release the Epstein stuff? I know. But see, they don't care. These people do not care. And Bulldog, just quickly asking you, when you know, whisper in my ear when we're going to have our stuff back, if we know. All right. Yeah, I by the way, last night, so we got a recommendation that there's a documentary on Billy Joel that you really, really want to watch. And so we did. It was great, but it was incredibly long. I mean, it just went on and on. There was part one, which is about 2 or 3 hours. There was part two. And then I said, look, I like Bill. In fact, I like Billy Joel. I love his music. But I mean, there's only so much I could do. I've got to go to bed. But it was a good special, worth watching part of it. It just goes on way too long. And a funny part that came up, and you see how the method of the left-wing media works. Like our one listener saying, hey, I can't let this drop. Well, that's because the left-stream media is not telling you the whole truth. In fact, they're not telling you very much of the truth. And I heard Billy Joel, and they played it in the documentary, that some fine people hoax, some very fine people on both sides hoax, which was immediately followed by I condemn, basically without reservation, the neo-Nazis and the skinheads and whatever else. I was very disappointed in that part. And that was the part where I said, well, I'm not watching this. I can't do it. By the way, my man Murph is asking, Weekend Warrior, we can't get him on, or can we? No, we can't. Can't get Weekend Warrior on. Murph was coming on. I'm not sure what happened to our electrical. And maybe this is a good thing, but we can't run commercials. Maybe it's a good thing for some of you. So yeah, we're discombobulated slightly. And I've got Jim Perino calling in about his uncles in any event. All right, we may have things back here. Let's see. Mike Hallinan, are you here?
Mike Hallinan. That's the first time you'd call me Mike Hallinan in years.
Sid, well, we're discombobulated. All our we couldn't play your theme song. We couldn't do any of that.
Well, I thought I figured you were Xing me out today.
No, we're having some electrical problems lingering over from repairs across the highway.
Yeah, John was explaining it to me. No problem. What's up?
All right, well, we got the NFL starting tonight. What do you got?
What do I have? Well, I'm not betting against the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take the Eagles over Dallas. The line went from 6. The opening line was 6. It's now 8.5.
Wow.
So there's a ton of Eagle money going on there. That's going to be tough. That's a tough line to cover the first week of the season. Don't take Dallas for granted. But I like the Birds. I always like the Birds. I'm worse than your buddy Pie Man. So.
No, there's nobody worse than him. You might be equal.
Well, Pie picked 31-24. If he was betting, he's a loser.
Yeah, I know. Honest to God. Sid, you're the only one. You are the only one we hold to that standard of having to beat the line. You're the only one.
I got my brains beat in last weekend, Bob.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Let's not even talk about that. I had one push.
I might have mentioned you. I did mention to you on the air that our Chet Parlavecchio said you can't bet college football with the money and the transfer portal because nobody knows what anybody can do.
Yeah, Chet has a point there because take the Alabama-Florida State game. I mean, Alabama got destroyed. The Florida State, it wasn't bad enough how they won the game. It's how bad they beat Alabama. It was a crushing defeat for Bama. But I don't like anything on Saturday, Bobby. Penn State has another scrimmage with Florida International.
Uh-huh.
You might even get a couple of downs in that game if you went down. You're good for a couple more carries, aren't you? We'll give it to you at the goal line to push or something like that.
There we go. So
but,
you're staying away from the college this weekend.
Yeah, this week there's nothing to get excited about, really. On Sunday, I like the Bengals in the Battle of Ohio -5 against Cleveland. I like the Mike Vrabel era to come out in flying colors on Sunday, so I like the New England Patriots -1.5 over the Las Vegas Raiders. On Sunday night, this is a tough one, but I'm going to go with the home team, and I'm going to take the Buffalo Bills -1.5 over Baltimore. Should be a great game. And Monday night, I like the Vikings -1 over the Chicago Bears at Chicago. So Sunday night's an interesting game. That's a big game to watch. And
don't worry, our problems, our electrical problems continue. So just keep going.
Okay.
All
right. No, where did you cut? Where did I get cut off?
We were talking Sunday night. We were talking Sunday night.
Oh, Sunday night. Yeah, that's the Bills. I'll take the Bills with the 1.5 over Baltimore. And Monday night, I like the Vikings -1 over Chicago. So
neat. Those
are the 5 that I like. Should be an interesting weekend. First weekend's always the best. So.
No, it'll be
we'll
fun.
See what happens.
It'll be fun. Well,
always.
Sid, we appreciate it very much. Thank you for calling in and hanging with us through our technical difficulties. We appreciate it. And
Yeah, I thought last week going 0-4, they said, let's get rid of this guy. He can't pick a winner
No,
to save his life.
they say Sid is intrepid. He just keeps coming at you.
Just
Right.
keep coming, Bob. That's how you're like that. That's how the Hillers are. We just keep coming. We don't know any other way. There's no other way to go.
Exactly. So
You know? Nobody
sans-
ever told us there was another
That's
way.
right. That's right. Sans the theme song, we say goodbye for this week. But thanks, Sid. Appreciate it, man.
All right, Bobby. Thanks for having me.
Okay. So.
All right, I'll see you.
All right. Sid Hallinan, our weekend warrior. So we've got a mayor's race in Scranton. And I told you, look at, I'm for Gene Barrett, and I sort of declared for him early on. But there's another great candidate for mayor. I mean, so you got your choice, although do they split the votes? Who knows? We've got to get rid of this mayor. And Trish Bynum, she is won the Republican nomination, and she's running for mayor. Trish, how are you? Welcome back to the Bob Cordaro Show.
Hey, Bob. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good, good. So we're after Labor Day. It's campaign time. Tell us what you're up to.
Well, let me tell you, first of all, and this is something that everyone's talking about right now, our dear Mayor Paige Cognetti decided to run for two different positions.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
It's arrogant.
The
Arrogant beyond measure.
How important does she think she is that she could get away with something like? She must think the people in the city of Scranton are stupid or something. I'm in shock over it. And then, can I tell you a little quote she said?
Yes.
She said, "It's really tough. It's not the decision that I thought I would be making." Of course it was the decision she thought she was making.
I was talking about this last year. She's running for Congress. She hired people. By the way, she hired people on our dime as taxpayers to help run her congressional campaign.
Yeah. She thinks we're stupid or something, and all of a sudden she thinks, oh, right now I'm going to decide to run for something else. Oh, my gosh. And then when Biden didn't get in, she probably had a panic attack and thought, now what am I going to do? Now I have to definitely push my way forward a little bit. She wants to be in Washington. Bottom line, everybody sees it. Everybody knows it. I don't know. She amazes me. Amazes me that she thinks she's that important that people don't see through this. I can't even.
Trish Bynum, what are you hearing when you're on the street, when you're campaigning? You're hearing a lot of that, I'm sure, now. But is it going to change their votes? We've seen dumb voting in the city of Scranton for a long time, and that's my words, not yours. They're not to be attributed to you. But are they going to do this again? Are they going to make this mistake, or are you feeling good?
Well, I hope that with this being out there finally, that she finally said it, that people are going to say to themselves, why would you want a temporary mayor that doesn't really care about the city, well, I don't know if she's ever really cared about the city, but about the taxpayers. And this is going to cost money for her to run for both positions. I mean, I'm hoping that the city of Scranton, the taxpayers, see the problem we're going to have going forward with this. I mean, she really hasn't done anything great anyway. We still have crime increased, and the roads are a mess. And you got to take a drive by Garrity's on Main Street in Scranton. So they did the crosswalks on the road. They did the line painting on it. They were supposed to use thermoplastic, but they used paint. Long story short, they get all the little sidewalks or the crosswalks done, and then they dig up the whole entire road and they take the crosswalk away. So that was a waste of money. She did that in a couple different parts of town. So then they repaint it with another contractor, and I don't know if the job was properly bid out or not. That's another story. But they have the crosswalk going towards the street. So I walk a lot. And for me to walk the way that crosswalk is now, because the way the truncated dome is, you're literally going out into the road when you walk. I'm thinking somebody should fix that. I can't understand. I can't understand it. It amazes me what I see every day with our current mayor.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Amazing. So what are your game plan? What's your campaign plan as we enter September?
Well, I'm going to be out there a lot. You're going to be seeing a lot more of me. I'm doing a lot of door knocking. I'm going to be visiting many of the city of Scranton taxpayer, the businesses downtown. I have actually do have a little campaign party set up for September 10th at the Posh. That's Wednesday from 6 until 8. If anybody's interested in hearing more of what I have to say and how I'm going to help the city with the crime increased. That's another thing. She's locking herself in City Hall. But, because she said crime is not increased, but yet she's locking herself in City Hall because, homicides did go up. She doesn't want to talk about that. So I'm planning my goal when I become mayor, work on the taxes. I will do an audit to find out where the money has really gone so we can disperse it out properly. And I'm definitely going to work on the roads and obviously the blight. She keeps putting out bid after bid after bid to try to get everything done in her little 2-month window, so she looks like she accomplished more than she has in the last 6 years. So I'm definitely going to make sure that I work on the blight, and I'm going to make sure that the people know that I'm accessible and they can talk to me, and I will open up City Hall because that's what the people are paying you for, to work for them.
Amen to that.
I'm embarrassed where we're at right now, and I think I'm hoping that the city of Scranton sees that there's a better choice out there than where they're at right now. Someone that's rooted here, and I have no place to go. I'm not planning on moving to Washington. I'm not planning on taking another position on. And I'm educated, I have the ability, and I'm definitely the right candidate. I hope that people understand and see that especially now with what's going on. So my goal is just to hope that people see a different choice is a better choice, and not where we're going right now.
Trish Bynum, Republican candidate for mayor, thank you for calling in. You know you're welcome anytime.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
All right,
Talk to you
too.
soon.
You too.
Bye.
Bulldog, we're out. We're back to normal? All right, we'll take a break. We're going to hear from our great sponsors, a little history, a little music, and then we'll be back. Thanks for hanging with us through our electrical issues. We're back. Those are the perspectives from World War II and World War I. But there's a lot of other veterans we need to honor as well. And if you go to the Bloomsburg Legion, you'll see a stone out front that says, "What is a veteran?" A veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount of up to and including his or her life. Our Veterans Tribute brought to you by our man John Basiliga and his great Basiliga hospitality. Properties that you just can't beat. Old Brook Inn, 307, Springbrook Township. Far Street Tavern in the Trips Park section of West Scranton. Queen City Tavern on the main drag, Oliphant. Scranton Art House. First Run Movies, amazing comfort, your favorite adult beverage, and your favorite food. And then the finest in fine dining, Atera 519 Linden Street, Scranton, and the Stegmeyer Mansion. Both of them incomparable in their own way. And guess what's open tonight? Sergei's, the nightclub right beneath Atera. Top shelf. Top shelf. We're honoring the Serino family today. And we had James Serino, the father of my next guest. Well, he wasn't the only one from this family to serve us. Anthony Serino, Tony, year younger than Jim Serino. He was in the infantry. He fought in North Africa against Rommel and the Panzer tank. He was assigned to mortars. Funny aside that Jim tells, they had some trouble with the local Arabs who were cutting their pants pockets and stealing their wallets. Some of the soldiers started shooting him, so their officers set a rule. Anyone caught would be fined $1. Not much stealing after that. Well, Tony wasn't done yet. He had to move into Italy where the fighting got incredibly intense. Cold weather in the Alps and other mountain regions of Italy. For some reason, the military sent a letter to the Serino home, and it said Tony was missing in action. He wasn't. There's another letter said he was wounded in battle and lost his hand. Also not true. James Serino and brother Anthony would exchange letters telling each other how easy the one had it. James Serino in the Pacific Theater, Tony Serino in the Italy campaign. My word. Another brother, Fred Serino. He was called Junior, named after his father. He also graduated from West Pittston with honors. He wanted to be the first of the family to go to college, but that would have to wait, says his nephew. He joined the Navy and served us in the Pacific Theater. Lots of action from Jap Zeros trying to sink them with torpedoes. The worst part of some of these battles was dealing with the kamikaze pilots who would deliberately crash into their ships. He served until the end of the war and was ready to be part of the invasion of Japan until we dropped the atomic bombs. Youngest brother, another Serino who fought for this country, Frankie, who's too young for World War II, but he was ready for the Korean conflict. He joined the Army as soon as he was able to. Sent to Korea. His buddy who joined with him didn't make it back, killed in action. Frank eventually achieved the rank of sergeant and served over 2 years in Korea in the infantry in 5 different campaigns. Command of an M43 howitzer with an 8-man crew. Seriously wounded in action during hand-to-hand combat over 5 years in the service. The amazing Serino family. And joining us is Jim Serino, who brought us all of this and gave me a lot of this information. Jim, what an amazing legacy your family has.
Yes, sir, Bob. We're very proud of them. And I just have to say, I'm sorry I had trouble dialing in. It was probably my own.
No, that was on our end. That was on our end. We had electrical issues that we literally just straightened out. So don't you worry about that.
I'm glad you allowed me to come through. You did an outstanding job talking about my father. I don't think I could have did it better myself. But one note I wanted to add to that, and you said everything perfectly, but PTSD I don't think was even known about back in those days.
Yeah.
And I think they all suffered of it to some degree. His only issue, you would never even know he even served. He never really talked about it. However, he would dream at night on occasion, and it would really scare my mother. Obviously, she didn't know what she was dealing with. And like I think I mentioned in my article, I found him outside one night in the middle of the night, in his boxers and a T-shirt, telling me the place is dirty with Japs to get back. But he snapped out of it, and he was fine. He worked the whole career at Tobyhanna and lived a good long life. So anyway, and he did a great job. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
When the family got together, and you had your dad, James Serino, you had your uncles, Anthony, Fred, Frankie, and they talked about their war. Did they ever talk about their war experiences with each other in front of you guys?
Not too much, but they did occasionally. Like my father's pretty tight-lipped about his, but he would occasionally say a few things. Tony's talked a little bit more, and even Frankie didn't talk a lot either. But we found out like some of the things. He was injured in hand-to-hand combat himself. He was literally stabbed underneath the heart. Just missed him. He would have been gone. But he came back and became an iron worker. Nothing scared him. He was probably the toughest of all of them. And he literally just passed away a couple of years ago. Unfortunately, we lost him. But he'd be there at every family dinner and everything. But, yeah, they would kind of more or less kid each other about it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like what you might expect. But they all suffered a little bit, I think, about nightmares that they had that they never spoke about.
Just imagine the things. I know you've thought about this all the time, but when it comes to my attention, I think all of the things that they saw between your dad, James, between Anthony, Fred, and then Frankie in the Korean War, they lived every war movie we've ever seen.
Yeah, and a few that I did watch with my father, he was like looking at it like, geez, that's not how it was. Like, he would let some things loose then, especially with the hand-to-hand combat.
Yeah.
When you were fighting with whatever they could get in their hands, rocks, stones, sticks, whatever, just to try to stay alive. It was a tough call. I wonder myself, like, could I have ever done that? I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't know how they survived it. Different generation. They grew up during the Depression. Things were tough.
You passed along your dad in the Pacific when the Japanese would just come in waves and literally be slaughtered. And then that the combat engineers would come and like bury the bodies en masse right in front of you because you couldn't have disease and other things happening. I mean, those kind of sites had to, obviously, you said with your dad, they had to stay with you.
Yeah, it never left. Like I said, he never mentioned any of that. Well, occasionally he'd talk to me and my brother about a couple of stories, but not a whole lot. He liked to talk about the wild boar that chased him.
Tell that story. Tell that story.
Yeah. They didn't wash probably in weeks. The monsoons would come, they'd be drenched. The clothes would literally rot off them, he said. I mean, it was that. And then you get that intense jungle heat, different than anything we could experience here. So they finally get to a river, a place they could, relax a little bit. And they take their clothes off. They go in the river. He comes out. There's a big 500-pound wild boar breathing down his throat. So he runs, and the guys were laughing, and they end up shooting the boar. They cooked it and ate it that night. It was the best meal they had since they were there. Yeah. He liked those funny stories. Yeah.
That is
But,
so good.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like I said,
How
they
many?
had nightmares about it.
We're talking with Jim Serino, his dad James, one of our honorees today, along with brothers Anthony, Fred, and Frankie, all of whom served in combat between World War II and the Korean conflict. Two of whom, Jim's father James and his uncle Frankie, were Purple Heart recipients. I don't know. I just growing up among this, but they didn't really let you know what heroes they were, did they?
Oh, absolutely not. And it's too bad because we didn't realize. Like I worked with guys at Tobyhanna that fought on Okinawa. I had a guy. I'm going to mention his name, Billy Morgan. I was so proud of that guy. I loved him dearly. He got hit on Okinawa. He literally thought he wet his pants. And when he got to and he was worried. He was more afraid of his buddies laughing at him. He gets to an area that he could check. He was shot right through the stomach. Fortunately, it hit no vital organs, and they just patched him up and sent him back.
My gosh.
He was a tough Marine on Okinawa. Wow. I mean, I got to meet a lot of those guys while they were still working and young enough, and I wish I could have asked them more stuff. And I think about it now, but
yeah.
But listening to shows like you and the way you honor the veterans is really a great thing.
Well, when you've got a legacy like this in just one family, this is off the hook. I'm so happy you agreed to send me the information and call in and talk about them. Man, we could do 3 hours on this on your family. We really could.
If I could just take one other minute,
please.
I didn't mention my mother's side of the family. She had a brother. His name was Ralph Matrone. He served, and he was older, too, because my mother was the baby of her family. We lost her a couple of years ago. But he served in the Philippines when MacArthur made his return. Now, he wasn't on the death march, but he came back when with MacArthur when they pushed the Japs out of the Philippines.
Wow.
So he served there. Then she had a nephew. Like I said, she was the baby. Her older sister had a son that was almost the same age as my mother, and he went to Germany. And he was another infantry fighter, and and the one thing he told me, he said, I could literally hear the bullets whizzing past my ears. The Germans were dug in trying to protect Berlin or whatever he was doing. I don't know. Again, they didn't talk much about it either. And his brother Al served in the Navy. They all served.
Wow.
And even my mother, she worked like in the factory, like a little dress factory when she was still in high school, and they were making T-shirts and shirts for the military.
Yeah.
So she did her part, too. I mean, that's just the way it was, I guess, in those years.
Well, that is a legacy. That's a legacy that I'm proud to hear. Never mind you to be able to live it, Jim Serino. Thank you.
I was fortunate. I guess fortunate is the word because all of them were served. But many families from that era. One of their friends that they grew up with, he was in the Battle of the Bulge. And if you watch the movie when the Germans machine gunned the prisoners, he was one of them. Mm. So the local towns had a lot of people, a lot of young fellas that served and did those kinds of things.
Nobody gave more than this area, and I'm telling you, there's not a family that could possibly give more than yours.
Well, I don't know about that. Because a lot of brothers went, we lost. Unfortunately, they all came back. That's what we were really had to be thankful for. But my grandmother spent a lot of nights burning candles in the window, and same on my mother's side of the family. Did your
grandmother or anybody else comment on what their reaction was when they said that Uncle Anthony was missing in action and then had lost a hand, 2 separate letters?
Oh, they were a mess. I mean, especially the missing in action part.
Wow.
Because they never thought they would see him again. But fortunately, I think they cleared that up fairly quick. So she only had a short time to be upset. But all her sons were out, getting shot at, basically. Yeah. So they weren't, and they were Italian immigrants. They didn't really understand. It was hard, to know, what was actually going on.
Did you, Jim Serino? Did you ever talk to your Uncle Anthony about fighting in Italy? They're recent immigrants. they're in a country, although, informally, Italy had surrendered and the fighting was against the Germans, but still.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. He came by, there was a group of Italian prisoners behind, like, that Constantino wire. They had them, and I don't know who had them in prison.
Mm-hmm.
They'd be walking through and seeing them. Well, my uncle, they could speak Italian. So these guys, these soldiers, were talking to my uncle, let us go. We're the same. We're real relatives. We're this, we're that. He just had to keep walking. And, another thing he did while he was walking through, I don't know what part of Italy it was, he saw Mussolini hanging with his girlfriend.
No kidding.
He saw them hanging by his feet.
My God, because they hung Mussolini for as long as they could keep the body out there, so everybody saw it.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, he was there for a long time, but he actually witnessed that.
They really did.
The hang here.
Yeah, they really did live in person all the movies we saw. That's amazing.
And then some. I think a lot of the movies don't even depict it. And I think they kind of dress it up a little bit. But, it was pretty horrifying. I can't even imagine. When I think about it now, I think there's no way. Could I have done that? I mean, if I had it, you wonder, I don't know.
The greatest generation. They're called that for a reason. It's not just a phrase. Jim Serino, thank you so much for letting us honor your family. John Basiliga thanks you as well, by the way.
Tell Mr. Basiliga I thank him for all he's done. I know he does quite a bit.
Well, this is a true honor. True honor.
Like I said, when I met you the other night at the donut shop, and you said, you talk about a lot of things on the air, a lot of political stuff, but your real love is to talk about the veterans. That really hits home. I feel good about that.
These stories are off the charts. Jim Serino, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it so
You're
much.
Very welcome,
look
friend.
Forward to seeing you again.
Yes, you will. Yeah, it was good meeting you.
All right. James Serino, Anthony Serino, Fred Serino, Frankie Serino, World War II, the Korean War, Navy, Army, 2 Purple Heart recipients. Amazing. We'll take a break and be back. Skaggs. Murph says he moved from number 16 to number 9 with his hit Lowdown. And speaking of Murph, he's performing Sunday night at the Dunmore Corners, the Bucktown Music Fest. And guess what? He's with us right now. Murph, how are you?
Pretty good, Bob. I guess we don't have too much time left.
No, but tell us about Sunday night. Who's appearing, and who are you appearing with?
Well, first we have the great opening act, which is Ruzi owner Mike Petrosky, Ronnie Morgan, and Paul Davies. They'll be starting off at 5 o'clock. And then I'll be performing with Picture Perfect at 7, sometime between 7 and 9.
Uh-huh.
And we're gonna try and have a meet and greet afterwards, behind the stage. But we got to make sure we have enough security.
Well, Murph, it does get the crowd in a lather when you're there. It does. I'm telling you.
Well, yes, it's not my first rodeo.
This
is my third time appearing at Music Fest.
Murph, is this the last of the Music Fest events?
No, there's actually one that was postponed from earlier that will be next week with, I know Pop's playing, and I'm not sure who else is with them.
Okay, great.
But that'll be next week.
Well, Murph.
And we'll have somebody call in for that.
Your song is, your selection, your music selections playing underneath us. Because on this date in 1982, Survivor had the number 2 hit with Eye of the Tiger. It's hard to believe it's that many years ago.
I know, the Rocky movie. I think it was 3.
By the way, somebody texted and said, please ask Murph not to wear the same outfit he wore last year.
No. Picture Perfect, they're a professional band. They have to look professional.
We're going all
new.
And
I'm doing Neil Diamond. I'm doing Neil Diamond.
Okay.
So,
by the way,
we want to thank all the Dunmore businesses that sponsor this because it's a free event, and the committee of Tommy Hallinan, Brian McGurl, and Carmela Mataloni, which put everything together. I just wanted to mention that real quick.
Great events and really area reunions. And I know it's focused on Dunmore, but I know all the people who come down from everywhere else, including Luzerne County, and they love it. They love it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. They want to come and see these are great acts.
Yep.
They're not just, Dunmore people. They're known acts, especially Picture Perfect. They're big all around.
By the way, somebody texted into me. They said, don't forget, Bob, Sunday night when you're listening to Gerard and Murph, it would be a good night to break a 20 at the VFW. So I think I'm going to have to go there. I'll have to go down there, too.
That's right.
All right.
Right around the corner.
Sunday night starting at 5. Murph between 7 and 9. Bucktown Music Fest. Thank you, my friend, and thanks for everything you do for the program.
No problem, Bob, and we'll see you Sunday.
All right. Our man, Murph. Hey, somebody texted me this. This is something I never heard. It's Scott the Slabjacker. Now, don't forget, he's the guy who gave us our gavel, so he's got beyond credible. He said that it was a reverse Ponzi scheme with Epstein. He would hide people's money. In other words, launder it and keep a piece of that money for hiding it. I literally never heard this. And that's how he came up with his money. Fascinating. They'd hide it in divorce from the tax man and all that. Fascinating. Never heard that, Slabjacker. Somebody says, just to see Murph, I would gladly pay double the entrance price. Amen. There ain't no entry price. Well, quick mention. WHYY, one of the television stations in Philadelphia, criticizing Stacey Garrity for when she was on this show. It said, a right-wing radio host claimed that Democrat Governor Josh Shapiro was personally responsible for the April arson attack on the Pennsylvania governor's residence. That's a complete lie. That's insane. I said it was a security failure that should embarrass the governor and the whole state because he's in charge of the state police. He's in charge of security for the governor's mansion, and they let some fool jump over the wall and set fire with the governor's family in it. No, it's a show of incompetence. Yeah, he was personally responsible. This is what we're dealing with, a media that will lie, cheat, and steal to get people like Shapiro and Paige Cognetti elected. Frightening. Well, my Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me it is 12 and change, which means Chauncey and I have to go. Sue Henry's next. The Rob O'Donnell show after that. I will not be with you tomorrow, but God willing, I'll be with you on Monday morning at 9 to do this all again. I will miss you. Have a great weekend, gang, and I'll talk to you again, God willing, on Monday. For now, we gavel to a close. This meeting of the Club for Common Sense, a little electrical problems, we overcame it all. And the great Serino family, we want to mention them again, along with Joseph Koch and Fred Malmstone, our veterans today.